Did you ever, as a child, put all your favorite foods into a bowl, stir it up, call it a meal, put a little panache of salt on just to make it that much more of a meal? Oh, yeah, me neither, but you can imagine that would taste pretty gross. Take that same concept, apply it to writing. That's what I have with Project Scavenger right now. I have an action post apocalyptic world inhabited by animals. There's organized factions, political strife, and it all takes place in a little donut world. Not to mention, I want to implement two distinct power systems to make the action scenes really pop. But a problem, when viewed as a whole, take the magnifying glass, zoom out a little bit, the elements appear to conflict with one another for attention. They create a real unfocused mess, just like mac and chocolate melon meat does. But just like mac and chocolate melon meat, you isolate those elements, give them their own time to shine and experience, and the ingredients are allowed to focus. They're no longer fighting with one another. You get each piece in their best form. It creates a coherent meal. That's what I'm going to try to do with Scavenger. And there's a lot of information to digest when explaining Scavenger, but I'm going to try to break it down into smaller pieces. First, I want to outline the general structure of Scavenger by introducing its world, characters, themes, and its narrative. The world that Scavenger takes place in is meant to parallel our world in the 1960s if nukes were launched during the Cold War. But rather than nukes being launched, it's actually this comically large laser that's fired through the planet, and it kills off most people on impact, and the remaining people are killed off by the chemicals it releases. This chemical stuff is also going to simultaneously trigger biology stuff to happen in the animals that cause them to evolve in a human-like fashion over hundred of years. I'm aware that the science explanation is lacking, but I'm just going to ask you to suspend your disbelief. We need the furries to exist somehow. So flash forward a couple hundred years, the animals are anthropomorphic now, but the fallout in combination with the world's natural decay left them in a wasteland, and they are oh so unhappy about this. Resources are scarce, and some factions are going to form. First, we got scavengers. They're basically pirates. They loot for their survival, treasure, and trade. We got governing bodies. They want order. They're like the chaos. I can't stand it. We need order, protection, but maybe even a little bit more than protection of society. They want power. Next group, we got militias. They're small fighting forces. They fight for what they want, what they believe in, their values. They're so noble like that. Usually tied to governing bodies, though. And lastly, we got mafia. They're scavengers, but they specialize in contraband, pirate things, right? But they do mafia things, and you know what I mean by mafia things. Hoo-hoo. The protagonist we're going to follow is Fulgens, a young scavenger who's just trying to look around for his next meal when we first see him. He's a red panda who, despite being a thief, is cautious and scared of confrontation. His values conflict with one another, right? When obstacles aren't in his path, he's a loot gremlin. He indulges in chaos, but as soon as the chaos becomes too big for him to handle, he wants the protection of order in society. So the themes I will really want to present through his journey are the themes of finding purpose and the theme of human morality. Finding purpose, pretty easy theme for me to present. I just have to present characters with the conflict of what they want to do with their life and then show the resulting emotional impacts of those decisions. Theme of human morality. It's a bit more tricky, but I'm going to depict it by paralleling the events of the human war that took place before their extinction to current conflicts in the animal world. Scavenger's plot is going to orbit around Fulgens and his crew covering the news around the world. Their world is full of powerful figures, different agendas. There's going to be a lot of content for them to observe. And as they progress forward, they're going to encounter more danger. This premise really lends itself to allowing me to show a variety of world perspectives, settings, but debatably the most important, it's going to provide diversity of fight scenes. It's not always going to be Fulgens involved with the fights himself. He might be when his interests are involved, but more often than not, he's going to take a backseat as an observer, and we're going to show the process of him capturing that fight scene. In conflicts that drive the story forward, most of the emphasis is going to lie on the fight itself, but there might be some scenes that focus more around the production of the news story rather than the fight itself. The action might take a backseat to the details of Fulgens capturing the action, right? Whether it's getting the right camera angle, taking a shot for blackmail, or composing a propaganda story, it's going to be cool. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be cool. It's not just going to be protagonist Pete over here defeating antagonist A through Z as his power scales. Hello, this is the outro. Full transparency is recorded half a year after the initial recordings. Two reasons. One, I thought the initial outro was really cringy. And two, just to bring you up to date on what I've done on Scavenger, which is not a lot. I kind of lost a bit of interest, motivation, but I still like to document things. So I'm going to finish up this video. It's been sitting here half a year, so that's great. And that's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching if you made it to the end, and that's all from me.